The echo of the vacuum cleaner hummed softly through the marble hallway of Apex Dynamics, one of New York's most powerful tech firms. It was late, past 9 p.m., and the only one still moving through the corridors was Marcus Reed, a tall, quiet black man in his 40s, dressed in a navy blue janitor's uniform. He pushed his cart methodically, earbuds in, his mind half in the rhythm of the work, and half in the sketches he'd made earlier that day. Designs for a prototype engine he'd been developing for 3 years. It was his passion, his escape. As he rounded the corner near the executive suite, laughter spilled out from the glass-walled conference room. Inside were Robert Hensley, the white CEO of Apex, and a few senior executives finishing drinks after a company celebration. Robert spotted Marcus through the glass. "Hey, Marcus," he called out with a grin, waving him in. Marcus hesitated but walked closer. "Evening, sir. Just cleaning up for the night." Robert smirked, leaning against the polished table. "You're always working late, huh? What keeps you going, man? Gotta admire that." Marcus smiled faintly. "I'm working on something outside of this, actually. An idea for a compact energy converter. Might sound crazy, but I think it could cut power costs in half." The room fell silent for a second, then erupted in laughter. Robert nearly spilled his drink. "A janitor designing tech now? That's a new one," he said between chuckles. "Hey, fellas, you hear that? We've got a scientist in uniform." Marcus stayed composed, though his stomach tightened. "I'm serious, sir. I've been studying in my spare time. Took some online courses, built a prototype at home." Robert shook his head, still laughing. That's adorable, Marcus. Really. But stick to cleaning floors, yeah? Leave the tech to us." The executives joined in, snickering. One added, "Maybe he'll start his own company next." Marcus gave a tight smile. "Maybe I will." Robert raised his glass mockingly. "Well, when that day comes, you can hire me, okay?" Marcus met his gaze, calm, steady, unbroken. "I'll remember that, sir." He left without another word, his heart pounding but his resolve hardening. Over the next year, while scrubbing conference rooms and wiping down offices, Marcus saved every spare dollar. Nights turned into study sessions, weekends into workshop hours in his garage. His idea, the compact energy converter, evolved from sketches into a working prototype. And one day, an investor from a local tech incubator took notice. 18 months later, Marcus Reed was no longer cleaning offices. He was signing contracts. His company, Reed Technologies, quickly gained traction for developing sustainable energy solutions, the kind that Apex Dynamics had failed to produce in years. By the time Apex's board began to crumble under debt and outdated tech, Reed Technologies bought them out quietly, through a holding company that hid his name until the papers were signed. The following Monday, as the Apex employees gathered in the conference room for a major announcement, Robert Hensley strutted in, unaware of what was about to happen. He adjusted his tie, smiling confidently. "Big day, folks. The new ownership group is here. Let's give them a warm welcome." The doors opened, and in walked Marcus Reed, dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, briefcase in hand, expression composed. The room froze. Robert's jaw dropped. "Wait, what?" Marcus smiled softly. "Good to see you again, Mr. Hensley. I believe you once told me to stick to cleaning floors." The silence was absolute. Marcus set his briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside was the contract. His name on every line, every title, every signature. He looked around the room. "I took your advice," he said calmly. I cleaned house, starting with this one." The air inside the Apex Dynamics conference room felt heavy, almost suffocating. The same executives who once laughed with their CEO now sat frozen in their chairs, their eyes darting between Marcus Reed and Robert Hensley, the man who used to rule this building like a king. Marcus adjusted the cuff of his charcoal suit and spoke with calm precision. "Let's get started." His voice was low, measured, but it carried authority. Robert tried to recover his composure, standing awkwardly. "Mr. Reed, there must be some kind of misunderstanding. You're saying you bought Apex?" Marcus opened a folder and slid a set of papers across the table. "No misunderstanding, Mr. Hensley. Reed Technologies acquired Apex Dynamics through a holding company 3 weeks ago. You've now officially merged under our leadership." He gave a faint, polite smile. "Congratulations. You work for me." A low murmur rippled through the room. One of the executives coughed nervously. Robert stared at the papers, his face pale. This, this is impossible. I built this company." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "You built a good company once, but somewhere along the way you stopped innovating. You stopped listening. You stopped respecting the people who keep this place running." He gestured toward the door. "Every night I cleaned these floors, while your leadership team joked about cutting costs and outsourcing dreams. You remember saying that?" Robert swallowed hard. "It was business talk." "It was arrogance," Marcus replied, his tone calm but firm. "You looked at people like me and saw limits instead of potential. You thought education, innovation, and leadership belonged to one kind of person." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "That's why Apex fell behind. Not because of the market, but because of the mindset." Robert sat down slowly, his voice shaking. "So, what happens now? You fire me?" Marcus studied him carefully. "I thought about it." The room tensed. "But then I remembered something my mother used to say. You don't change the world by getting even. You change it by doing better." Robert blinked, confused. Meaning? "Meaning you're not fired," Marcus said simply. "You're staying on as an advisor during the transition. Unpaid, of course. Consider it your opportunity to listen for once." A few of the executives tried to hide their shock. Marcus continued, his tone soft but unwavering. "And as for the rest of you, I expect humility, transparency, and vision. We're rebuilding Apex from the ground up, and it starts with the people you've ignored for too long." He turned to the head of HR. "Effective immediately. We're launching a new internal program, training, scholarships, career advancement for janitors, assistants, technicians, anyone who wants to grow. If you want to stay at Apex, you'll support it. If not, there's the door." The HR director nodded silently, clearly shaken but moved. Robert sat slumped in his chair, his mind still trying to catch up. "You really planned all this? From the beginning?" Marcus looked at him, eyes steady. "The day you laughed at me, I made a promise to myself. Not to prove you wrong, but to prove me right." He stood, gathering his papers. "That's the difference between revenge and redemption. One feeds your anger, the other feeds your purpose." As Marcus walked toward the door, Robert called out one last time. "Marcus!" He stopped. Robert's voice was quiet now, stripped of arrogance. "I was wrong about you." Marcus turned slightly, meeting his eyes. "No, you were wrong about yourself. You thought respect was something you demanded. It's something you earn." And with that, he left the room, the sound of his footsteps echoing through the same halls where he once mopped floors. Only now, each step was heavy with authority and history. Outside, employees had gathered, whispering as Marcus walked past. Some recognized him immediately, the man who used to sweep the lobby. But now, he didn't carry a mop. He carried the future. As he stepped into the elevator, he caught his reflection in the polished steel doors. The janitor who became a CEO. He smiled faintly. "Let's get to work." The morning after Marcus Reed officially took control of Apex Dynamics, the building felt different. Gone were the hushed tones and stiff formality that had once filled the marble halls. In their place was a strange blend of curiosity and cautious hope. Employees who had never dared to speak above a whisper now walked with heads a little higher. Something new was beginning, and everyone could feel it. Marcus arrived at 7 a.m. sharp, carrying only his laptop and a thermos of coffee. No entourage, no bodyguards. The same security guard who used to wave him through the service entrance now greeted him at the front door. "Morning, Mr. Reed," the guard said, smiling nervously. Marcus grinned. "Morning, David," and it's just Marcus. Always has been. He rode the elevator to the top floor, a place he used to enter only with a key card that said custodial access. Now that same floor bore a new plaque on the glass door. Marcus Reed, Chief Executive Officer. Inside, he stood for a moment, taking it in. The desk was massive, the view breathtaking. But what struck him most wasn't the luxury. It was the quiet. The same silence he'd once filled with a vacuum cleaner's hum now belonged to him. By 9 a.m., the entire company had gathered in the atrium for his first address as CEO. Hundreds of employees, janitors, assistants, engineers, executives, all watching the man who used to mop the floors, now stand behind the podium. Marcus spoke with calm conviction. "When I worked here as a janitor, I learned something about this place," he began. "I learned that innovation doesn't come from the top floor. It comes from every floor, from every person who shows up and gives their best, even when no one's watching." The crowd was silent. He continued, his voice strong but warm. "I was laughed at for having a dream. Some of you have been laughed at too. Told you weren't good enough, smart enough, connected enough. I'm here to tell you, that ends today." Applause broke out, hesitant at first, then growing louder. Marcus nodded. "From this day forward, Apex will be a place where effort matters more than titles, where ideas matter more than egos. We're launching an internal innovation program, open to every employee. If you've got an idea that can make us better, I want to hear it." The staff exchanged astonished looks. Even the janitorial crew at the back clapped, tears welling in their eyes. After the meeting, Marcus spent hours walking the building, from the executive offices to the warehouse floor. He stopped to talk to everyone, shaking hands, listening. He remembered their names, their stories. In the design lab, a young black engineer named Tasha Green nervously showed him her project, a new software interface that had been shelved by upper management months earlier. "They said it wasn't a priority," she said quietly. Marcus smiled. "It is now. Get me a prototype by next week." He moved on to the cafeteria, where a shy Hispanic custodian approached him. "Mr. Reed," the man said softly, "I've been taking business classes at night. I want to move up someday." Marcus clasped his shoulder. "Then we'll make sure you get that chance." By evening, the entire building was buzzing with energy. The same company that had once been divided by class and color now had a spark of unity, and it started with one man's belief that dreams were not defined by uniforms. Upstairs, Marcus reviewed new proposals and performance reports. Across the table sat Robert Hensley, the former CEO, now humbled, quiet, and observant. Robert broke the silence. "You've done more for morale in 1 week than I did in 10 years. Marcus didn't look up from his papers. "That's because I remember what it's like to be invisible. Once you've been there, you never want anyone else to feel it." Robert nodded slowly. "You're turning this company around." Marcus smiled faintly. "No, we are. But not the way you think. I'm not building a company. I'm building a culture." Later that night, long after everyone else had gone home, Marcus stood alone by the window of his office, gazing at the city lights below. He thought of all the nights he had stood in that same spot, not as a CEO, but as a janitor, watching the skyline and dreaming of something better. Now he realized the truth. The dream had never been about money or power. It was about respect and giving it back to those who had been denied it. He whispered softly, "We're just getting started." And for the first time in years, Apex Dynamics wasn't just a company. It was a second chance.